Welcome to Porch View Dance's 10th anniversary program. This marks our company's first event in our 30th anniversary season. I'm Kaeja, and Porch View Dances makes me smile and warms my heart. Landmark years seem to distill time and wrap my mind around life in distinct ways. How do I speak about a decade of public dance art where families and participants who may never have danced or performed before individually or together are guided to reveal their lives through moving gestures into a dance, through the aesthetics of a choreographer they have never met before? The result is simply exquisite. I've witnessed laughter, tears, discoveries, and new meaning in over 50 Porch View Dances creations in Toronto, Ottawa, Kitchener, and Etobicoke. Our first 8 years were bustling with audience members, street closures, shared narratives, and togetherness in person. Now, in our second online iteration, with pivots abound, I promise you a program that is as fierce and beautiful as ever on porches and new landscapes, with our signature vignettes and an audience-inclusive flock landing. 10 years ago, when I was looking out my front window during a staff meeting, I became curious about what was going on behind closed doors across the street. I started imagining their story through dance spilling out onto the front porch of their home. And before I knew it, the whole neighborhood was dancing on their front porches, lawns, and sidewalks in my mind. I turned back into the meeting and burst out with this image. Alan dove into the development of it with me, and Jessa Aguilo, our manager at the time, spearheaded our first PVD grant. Here we are today, 10 years later, and there are so many people to thank. This was only a daydream of mine, but it became much bigger and better because of all the hearts and minds who have tended to it, danced in it, created for it, and enjoyed it. I am incredibly grateful to over 500 people who have brought their love and talent in so many ways to the shaping of PVD over the decade. And of course, to the audiences, our funders, and our staff, Sarah Caraher, Rayburn Ferguson, Drew Barry, and Joanna Davila. This year, our very special longtime colleague, Michael Caldwell, brings his curatorial vision, magic, and impeccable directorship to PVD10. I am over the moon and honored that he accepted our invitation. Michael has been our collaborator for over a decade and so many facets of Kaeja, and we're super thankful and excited for all the traditional underpinnings and radical shifts that have unfolded this year through his lens and the artists that he has selected. Spreading its wings throughout Toronto this year, PVD moves inward to the heart with stories in multiple locations and neighborhoods representing home in ways that will definitely delight you. Alan and I wholeheartedly welcome the extraordinary 2021 commissioned Toronto artists, filmmakers, and community participants to Porch View Dances. Thank you all for diving in and sharing your art with us. And thank you to a lot of past community performers, some of whom have brought a bouquet of imprinted memories in a very fun, reminiscent reel all these years later that you will see today. We also want to celebrate a beautiful man, Jim Many Hats Adams, who will bring us his land acknowledgement this evening. Jim first approached us 6 years ago with a collaboration idea of giving creative agency to his father-son story over a sequence of 4 years in PVD through the theme of being Indigenous in the city. Through Jim's kind leadership, 3 works with Jim have emerged thus far. infused with concepts of birth and connection to spirit, learning and mentoring as we grow up, and seeking our dreams, memory and loss and resilience. Our relationship has blossomed into a friendship and creativeship over all of these years. And now, I invite you into this year's enchanting artistic gems that expose, inspire, and give insight to a city's humanity through brave inner dialogue transposed to dance. Warm and real, the short films offer a new expression of today, a freedom within our ephemeral art form, and a visible imprint that you can revisit anytime because they are films. Enjoy what is a legacy of dances and people in this moment.
Kumikque, the earth, has always been here. Turtle Island, Mother Earth, the great blue ball. It is not important how you describe her or how you might believe we got here. All of our creation stories are true. The earth does not need us, but we very much need her. No one can use, hurt, damage, or ignore the earth without consequences. The old ones, the elders, and the traditional knowledge keepers kindly share stories with us that tell of these times of neglect and intentioned ignorance. They remind us of what happened at those times and indeed what may happen again if we fail to listen. We have our original instructions that gently spoke of our relationships with the winged ones, the four-leggeds, the creepy crawlers, the swimmers, the unseen and the seen, and indeed with each other. Some have forgotten these words, some have not heard them, some have willingly ignored them. It is time to gently remind them again of these instructions and of the four original gifts each of us received as we were lovingly lowered onto the turtle's back. The gifts of kindness, strength, honesty, and caring. We are accountable for our words and actions. We can no longer say, "I did not know." The sky, the earth, the fire, the water, and all creation are telling us to be aware. The mother still breathes under the concrete, steel, and glass. The mitig, the trees still grow. The bish, the water still flows. The words of the treaties still hold true. The sun still shines, the water still flows, and the grass still grows. The dish with one spoon is still honored. Those whose lands we live on are remembered with love and respect. All my relations.
Hello, and welcome to the 10th anniversary of Porch View Dances. My name's Jake Runeckles, and I'm very happy to be your tour guide today. I'm standing here in Seton Village in Tikaranto on the precipice of a world of delicious creativity. This is the birthplace of Porch View Dances. And while normally we would be gathering here together, today we are harnessing the gifts of digital media to bring the porches to your homes. Or perhaps I should say, to bring home to your porches, sidewalks, and living rooms, as we are about to witness the brilliance of professional artists and community participants in 6 newly commissioned dance films which meditate on the idea of home. But first, where is your home? Or where are you joining us from today? Feel free to share in the chat. You can take screenshots and tag @Kaeja to Dance on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram using the hashtag PVD10. We will round off this Porch View Dances as we always do with a participatory flock landing, which you can join from the comfort of your own home. followed by a Q&A with some of the featured artists from these upcoming films. Are you ready? Come with me. I like to think of home as a starting place, a place of beginnings, the first breath on the journey. In this spirit, I'd like to begin by introducing our first film, Ami to Amra, or Me to Us, choreographed by Otri Nandi, directed by Arya Evans, and featuring Preeta Roy Chowdhury, Manu Gupta, and their two kids, Vinash and Roshan. This work is being filmed at a time when Preeta, Manu, and the kids are moving from one house to another. It's been interesting discussing the idea of what home is to them. Since this is a piece about a family, the word home describes a place where all four of them live together, under one roof.
On your mark.
You're too fast.
Get set. Go!
Go, baby, go! You're too fast. You're too fast.
All the way there and back.
Go,
Good job, Vader.
Though we can't gather in Seton Village this year, this Porch View Dances invited each vignette choreographer to choose their own locations which reminded them of home anywhere they wished. All 3 vignettes were filmed by Kaeja. This vignette, called Conductor for Harriet, was choreographed and performed by Raven Wings and filmed at Toronto's Harbourfront. Raven writes, "I chose Harbourfront as the site for my work because it reminds me of returning to self, to land, to home, to water. I immediately thought of slavery, and as a descendant of stolen people, home has had to be our community, our family, our body. I wanted to showcase all of this in my burlesque performance for Porch View Dances and honor Harriet Tubman, the conductor, the mad Black woman who helped free our people and inspired generations after her to keep going." The second film on our journey is called Threshold. It's choreographed by Sarah Porter, directed by Fran Chudnoff, and features community participants Catherine Duncanson, Catherine Marion, and Christine Moynihan. We explored, through memoir and movement exploration, how to fully inhabit the body and saturate the dancer's experience with the locations of their dancing, working with ideas of threshold, or the place of transition that a porch provides. We played with finding home in every moment of motion to saturate the senses and locate place with an expanded sense of the present tense self.
Hi, I'm Sam. I am the executive director of the Registry Theatre in Kitchener, Ontario, and we've had the good fortune of hosting Porch View Dances twice. First in June of 2016 and again in September of 2017. I want to say congratulations to Karen and Alan and to the whole Kaeja team for 10 years of Porch View Dances. It's a phenomenal program. My memory of Porch View Dances is that first performance we did in June of 2016. I remember the show was supposed to start at 1 o'clock, and at about 1:45, there was nobody there. But then I looked down the street and I see a mom and a dad pulling a wagon with their little kid in it. And then I looked in the other direction and I saw a group of people coming around the corner, and I thought, are they coming to see the show? And over the next 10 minutes, the people just came. Like, it was magical. It was in groups of 2s or 3s. There was grandparents and parents and kids and friends and people on scooters and bikes and getting pulled in wagons. And by the time we started, I think we had 250 or 300 people. And they just seemed to materialize out of nowhere. And I was so happy I just wanted to cry. I mean, all of the work that we'd done, and here was this amazing crowd, and the dancers were amazing, and the Alan's emceeing was wonderful, but most of all, it had that magical feeling of a community event, of the people coming and having ownership of it. I mean, this was their neighborhood, this was their street, these were their houses, their friends and neighbors all coming together to participate in this wonderful afternoon of dance in the sun. And I couldn't be happier. And it remains a high point in my memory of dance presenting at the Registry. And that's why we couldn't wait to do it again. And the second time we did it, I was not worried because I knew the people would come. And they did.
What does home mean to you? Please feel free to share your thoughts and sensations in the chat. Home is where we are acquainted with our first stories. Stories we love, stories we hate, and stories that linger with us for a long time. This brings me to our second vignette. See What? Choreographed and performed by Irma Villafuerte at Tiffany Falls in Ancaster, Ontario. Irma writes, "The story of La Ciguanaba always impacted me as a child. This story, that is meant to ignite fear, to me, ignited admiration. She is strong. She is shifting. She protects herself. She teaches lessons. She is fearless. She is me. She is us. She is my land." Porch View Dances is 10 years old. Some of the kids who participated in a previous version of Porch View Dances are now teenagers or adults. What else is 10 years old? 2012 is, for one. Where were you in 2012? How has your world changed in the last 10 years? Feel free to share in the chat. The Reminiscent Reel celebrates 10 years of real people dancing in real spaces. Co-directors Drew Barry and Michael Caldwell invited all of the past Porch View Dances community participants to submit short videos captured in their current homes with their own mobile devices to share with you today. Let's go back to see where it all began.
So, honey, I just got an email from Norway, and they want to commission a new work on their company. And I'm a little bit nervous because, you know, it's 5 dancers. I don't know who they are. And I don't know if they're going to be able to, like, I've got to teach them the elevation work. I got to figure out the mechanics and, you know, and things like that. But, you know, what would be the theme of the piece? It's just, you know, it's one of those things where I just want to be able to give a foundation of the work, but at the same time create a work that's, you know, really poignant and meaningful. Yeah. So anyway, when we're going, we would be going in the winter, and Norway's fantastic for winter sports, skiing, snowshoeing. They have the longest.
I wonder what's happening across the street over there on the porch. The dialogue of their inner world just seems to fall right out of the door. Out of the house. It's so animated. What if the stories could be revealed on the porch through a choreographer's eye? How could the life of the people who live there become a dance for everyone, for all of us to see? What do you think?
What do you want to share about your reminiscences of the past Porch View Dances experience?
We loved to rehearse so much that we even practiced in the rain sometimes. And it would look like it was raining flowers, and it was really, really beautiful.
I remember the wind pulling me up as though it was carrying me around. It was fun.
I feel like our dance was so reflective of our family and of who we are and how much we loved each other, and that the dance felt like it was really this group of 5 of us all working together, all sharing, all bonding. I'd never been involved in dance that accomplished something like that, so that was really special.
Whenever I think of it, it brings a smile to my face and makes me go back in time to experience the excitement, camaraderie, and sheer joyfulness of that time. As we grew to know each other and become committed to the process, it took on a whole new life. Standing there in that row of women as the music started was a very powerful moment for me. I felt completely connected to these women and to the community that I was going to perform for. It was amazing.
I've always wanted to live somewhere where people connect through art. And during Porch View, seeing the faces of the people who gather to see the show and be part of it is what makes this really special. People who might never even dance or see dance are all brought together on the same level as both audience and performers.
It was a meaningful experience. It was a deep bonding, and it's something I think that will always really stay with me.
I like swinging on the hula hoop because my mommy loves the hula hoop, and I just jump on, and then she swings me up, she swings me down, and it's really, really fun. I also remember the walking from house to house. Like, we would have to just go by and playing at the park.
Really liked meeting with a real choreographer. It was so great to be able to meet with an experienced choreographer, and we designed the best dance we could. It felt like everyone had a contribution in the creative process, and it really felt like a collaborative effort.
I felt alive. I felt joy. I loved moving my body and dancing and sharing with our community. Each one of my children felt special, like they were dancers, because they were dancers.
Performance.
Loud.
Sharing,
Spin.
Present.
respect,
Play.
dance,
Run. Spin around.
wild,
Collaboration.
rehearsals in the rain,
Walk. Flowers.
Carefree joy.
Water. Fall.
joyful dancing, togetherness,
Feel.
This is what makes a neighborhood.
Congratulations, Kaeja Dance, on the 10th anniversary of Porch View Dances. I was lucky enough to work with Karen and Alan Kaeja on Porch View Dances in the South Etobicoke community from 2017 to 2019 as the community programs coordinator for Lakeshore Arts. During that time, we brought Porch View Dances to the Long Branch, New Toronto, and Mimico neighborhoods. And one of my favorite experiences throughout this whole time was convincing community members to dance. Watching the fear melt away into confidence as they performed for their neighbors, their friends, their family, and watching as the crowds grew every day during our performance run and ultimately become a spot where young ones would dance with, different generations, and everybody kind of culminating into the flock landing at the end was just such a wonderful experience to me. Wishing you another 10 years of continued success with Porch View Dances. I hope that one day we get to see our neighborhoods flooded with dance and celebration once more.
What is the difference for you between a house and a home? When you leave home, what parts of home travel with you? If you have something to share, please offer it in the chat. I'd like to introduce our third vignette, Guest House, choreographed and performed by Sashar Zarif and filmed in a backyard garden in Thornhill, Ontario. Sashar writes, "For me, home is where I can be the story, not tell a story. Not a place to settle, but a place to flow. Home for me is not a place, rather it's a state of being that I can exist here and now, not remembering the past, nor preparing for the future. Home is where the past has found its peaceful place in the present. As a human, I am a traveler, the guest in this body and on this earth. Therefore, home is where I exist in the reality of each moment, free of defining the time and place, free of castles and clocks. In fact, home for me is the silence between the ticks of a clock."
Güneş yandır, ben daldım günden dermanındır. Heyler yanında, heylerdir güle. Her amanın yanın derdi güle. Heylerdi güne, heylerdi güne. Aynı dünyanın öyle bir sana. Derdim dermanı, dinlerdim sana. Dinlerdim yanır, dinlerdir sana. Heylerdi güne, heylerdi güne. Hey 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 hey
We've now experienced 5 beautiful offerings from these fabulous artists and community participants, and we have one more film to share with you. This film, called Social Reconnection, Reintegration, Dance in a Low-Key, TikTokified World, is choreographed by Rodney DeVerlis, directed by Olia Glotka, and features Keenan Lieberg and Kike Otwije. Rodney writes, "I wanted to explore home as it relates to our physical and intimate relationships. Outside of the brick and mortar of a home, how do we find home through each other's bodies? Those who we share intimate pasts, deep connections, and trust. In this time of reopening and reconnection, we are reacquainting our body relation to those around us, those we want to hug, to touch, to play with, to rub up on. Relationships between old friends where there's comfort and ease, where things just click."
the needle on the record.
And a 5, 6, 7, 8.
Thank you all for taking this journey with us. Please join me in the chat in thanking the artists and community members who have shared their work with Porch View Dances for the first time, gracing us with new contexts and stories and new perspectives on home. It's been a pleasure to be your tour guide through these profound offerings for Porch View Dance's 10th anniversary. Now, as promised, we have a very special flock landing prepared this year, led by Lilia Leon, Miriam Alawi, and Delton Saju. Audience-inclusive flock landings have taken place from Toronto to Japan. Filmed in Seton Village 2 weeks ago for this occasion, we invite you to join our 120th experience. To take part, just mirror the dancer in white who is highlighted on your screen and follow their movements while standing or sitting. The dancers will guide you in a 7-minute flock landing with simple gestures connecting us to the here and now. Feel free to do as much or as little as you like with the movement and energy that is accessible to you. And please stick around afterwards for a Q&A with the artists. My tour ends here. Goodbye to you all, for now.
Hello, my name is Michael Caldwell, and as the curator and production director for this year's edition of Porch View Dances, I wish to extend my sincerest thanks to all of you for joining us for this very special online event. It has been such an honor and such a pleasure engaging with these tremendously talented artists and community participants, and working with Karen and Alan and the Kaeja to Dance staff and volunteers throughout these past few months. I am here at this moment as your moderator for what I hope will be a lively and informative discussion with the artists from this online Porch View Dances 10th anniversary program. For anyone watching at home that has a burning question to ask or a supportive comment to share with our artists, please place it into the chat and we'll try our best to address it. Now, before we dive into the Q&A and before we welcome the artists to join, I'd wish to thank everyone who has so far offered a donation to this year's Porch View Dances through the registration process. Your support means the world to Kaeja to Dance and will help the organization continue to offer incredible programming and opportunities to artists and audiences alike. If you wish to further your financial contribution or donate for the first time, please visit the kaeja.org website and click the Donate Now button at the top of the page. Speaking of support, Kaeja to Dance also wants to extend thanks to all of the public and private funders, corporate partners and sponsors, and individual donors for their continued and ongoing support. A full list of donors, funders, and sponsors can be found on the kaeja.org website and in your digital PDF program. Specifically, we'd like to thank this year's PVD10, too many PD things, PVD10 sponsors: New Canadians Lumber, Jose's Couture Realtor, RIF Equipment Repairs Limited, Curbside Cycle, and Co's Cafe and Restaurant. On this, let's dive into our conversation. At this moment, I'd like to invite all of the PVD artists to turn on their screens and join us in conversation. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. And as the artists are filtering in, just to remind everyone watching that if you have a question to ask or a supportive comment, please offer it in the chat at any time, and we will do our absolute best to address it. So, here we are. As you can see, there are many artists here with us at this moment and not a whole lot of time for conversation. So I'm going to do a quick round of introductions so that we can get into our questions. First, I would like to introduce Otri Nundy, hello Otri, and Aria Evans, who are the choreographer-filmmaker pairing for Ami to Amra, Me to Us, the first film of the evening. Next, we have Sarah Porter and Fran Chudnoff, the choreographer-filmmaker pairing for Threshold, the second film of the evening. Rodney DeVerlis and Olya Glutka, choreographer-filmmaker pairing for, okay, this is a test, Social, Reconnection, Reintegration, Dance in a Low-Key, TikTokified World. Boom. Excellent. Third film of the evening. And to Raven Wings, Irma Villafuerte, and Sashar Zarif, who are our vignette choreographers for this evening's performance. And Alan Kaeja, who filmed all three vignette choreographies. Awesome. Here we are. So I'm going to dive right into questions. Everyone's just staring right at me, so here we go. Otri, hello. Nice to see you. I'm so curious, and I know we've talked over the recent weeks, but I'm so curious what it was like working with the kids. I know we had a good conversation about that at one point, but yeah, I'm curious how that was for you in this whole process.
So the kids were my favorite part. I mean, I love my friends, I do, but they make really great babies. So they're awesome. Those twins were awesome to work with. I had a little bit, so we didn't do anything online with the kids just because they're 4 years old, and the initial conversation that we had, which Michael, you were a part of, they were just running all over the house, they were running all over their yard, and they were just not paying attention. So it didn't make any sense to do any online sort of rehearsals. Plus, for me, the joy of working on this project was to see the kids at their like in their most like original ways, like they're in original. Sorry, wasn't the word that I was looking for, but just to see them do what they were doing, just to play around, just to be with one another, to just be kids. So there was no rehearsal for that. They're just being that. So I had gone over just right before the filming with Arya and I, just a couple of days before, just to see the kids and just to like, you know, make sure they're okay with me being around. And they were fantastic. And like Arya and I had discussed as well before, that like we were just going to capture them just in the way that they were that day. We can't guarantee that they would be in a good mood. We can't guarantee that they were going to be like, you know, the most well-behaved kids that day. And that was fine. And that was what we were looking for. And it was just their authentic selves just to be there. And it was wonderful. So wonderful to work with those two. They were amazing. They were so great.
Oh, so great. Yeah. And Arya, what was it like to sort of join this sort of world, be at their home, be in their space? How was that experience for you?
Yeah, well, the first question that I asked Oshri was, what is at the heart of this piece? And he expressed that it was the way that this family is together, their playfulness, their like relaxed authenticity, and like also the chaos of having two kids that are the same age. And it was all of those things. It was joyful, it was chaotic. I had my camera and I felt like I was a reality TV videographer for the day. Capturing these people and finding moments of like rest, of play, of reflection, of togetherness. And I'm happy that those things came through and some of those moments were captured and put together into the film.
Beautiful. Thank you both for the offering of that film. It was really stunning to watch tonight. Raven, hi, how are you? Nice to see you.
I'm well. I'm
Great.
doing okay.
Amazing. I've of course been watching your work and everyone's work here many times over and over. And what I'm so struck by is I really feel that I'm going on a journey with you as I'm watching it. I wonder if you can speak about the journey.
Sure. Well, when the topic of home was presented, that's immediately what I thought about. For me, home is my body. And as a trans woman, it's often been an interrupted body, and so that's immediately what I sort of thought about, and how I find groundedness in weird places in the city. I find that, and usually it's at Harborfront, which is a really chaotic sort of place to be at, because there's so many different people, so many different things happening in that space. However, it's like this body of water that all these mixtures of things are happening there. So it was sort of this really awesome experience of just trusting the environment to do what it was going to do. And the journey that I really wanted to highlight was that of the Harriet Tubman, one of the conductors of the the Underground Railroad. And I initially started with song. I was going to sing initially. I was going to sing a Negro spiritual to highlight the ways in which we use music and dance to survive throughout time. But instead, I chose to use like the actual environment, the birds and the cars, and just what this time period brings as part of what is home now in Sacramento. So,
yeah, and it really, the natural environment really brought us into the space with you, which I found so wonderfully beautiful. So thank you for that. Thank you. Sarah Porter, hello. I wonder if we've talked also a little bit about memoir and movement, and I wonder how that moved into sort of your investigation of porches and then arriving at this idea of threshold in the film that we saw this evening?
Well, I like to research words. So I'm a writer and a dancer. And I find that personally, when I'm dancing, I have a lot of, my mind starts going. So when I start moving my body, my thinking starts moving. And, I, like everybody, my imagination wakes up, and it sounds a little crazy, but like I see things, I remember things, my body does things, and it gives me images, and I remember things about my life, what my body has lived, what my body has been through. And I started writing stories about that and teaching that process to other people. So the dancers I was working with, we did some of that research, both about porches, but also about our own bodies and where we wanted to move, what kind of spaces we had access to and we could move in. And I learned about porches, all the different kinds of porches in different countries and different cultures, where it's hot, where it's cold, how people use porches. And I came upon this line about porches being a place of transition, where you get to take a pause before you enter somewhere, or you get to take a pause before you leave somewhere. And I really like that thing about pause, because it makes me think of, like, when you get to pause, there's a kind of self-reflection that happens in those moments. You're not inside the house at the party. You're not outside the house with the people that are waiting for you. You're in this like moment of kind of, I don't know, personal, intimate reflection. So we kind of worked from there.
Beautiful. And Fran, I was quite struck by all of the angles of the camera. from below and from the front, the side. It just really shifted perspective. What was that like to work with Sarah, work with the community participants, and sort of develop that approach to how you were seeing the work?
Yeah, I mean, I think right away, like, this is a site specific, intimate, in people's homes or in familiar places kind of work. So I wanted to really focus on the people, but also really like locate them in place. And by kind of capturing them both in the really kind of close, like zoomed in details, and then kind of the like more like voyeuristic far away angles, I think it for me, that's like the fun part about shooting something that I can kind of assemblage together afterwards. It's like kind of just capturing all of these vantage points, and like as like somebody that is a dancer, dance maker, but then also uses like image making as like an extension of like my embodied practice. I think like proximity and like zooming in and literally zooming out to things is like something that's always like captured my attention. So it was really great to work with Sarah and the 3 participants, and just make it 360 as possible. And I think also the nighttime, or like the just before nighttime setting, also kind of lent itself to like some mystery as to like who or what the camera could and couldn't do. Yeah, but short answer, just playing around.
Amazing. But that's, I mean, play is where it's at, right? Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much. Irma. Hi.
Hi.
So my question, I think, is going to be very obvious. Water. I'm so interested in the connection to water in what you've brought forward this evening. I wonder if you could expound on that.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm a Cancer, so I'm a water sign.
Well, there you go.
End of answer. No, I was kidding. Water. Well, water is life. Water is us. Water is around us. Water can also end us. But I come from a land, Cuscatan, which is post-colonial Salvador, that is a tropical land, and we are on the coast of the Pacific. We're a very small country in the coast of the Pacific Ocean, and I always have felt an enormous fear by water, because I've had people in my life who have drowned in the oceans of El Salvador, but I've also have this enamorment and complete seduction by the ocean, specifically the Pacific Ocean, which is a very dramatic ocean, and it makes sense that I'm from there, because as all of you that know me, you know that I'm dramatic. But this relationship to water also, and specifically with this piece, I wanted to invite something that used to scare me a lot, which was the story of La Ciguanaba, and this woman who you find by water, who has, her issues and traumas and revenge, and she revenges herself by presenting as this like desirable being against whoever witnesses her, and then they take her away, and usually it's she lures men into this creeks, and and they put her in the horses, and then she becomes the beast that she truly is. And I used to, this story of La Ciguanaba, and those of us who are from down south, we all know what this story is about. We have these connections, and to me, she's completely, she's revolutionary, and she is the water itself, because as inviting as it is, as beastly as she can become, and I don't know, that's my relationship to it.
Beautiful, and thank you for offering that sharing with us as well. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Sashar, Zarif, hello. Firstly, I just want to say I am so sorry about the captions this evening. I just want to publicly say we're going to fix that in this version that's going to be online for the next month. So our deepest apologies for how the captions completely misrepresented your song. And that is, in fact, my question is about the song and music, which I know is so integral to your practice and to your work. I wonder if you can just speak on what we heard and how that relates to your work as a movement practitioner as well.
Thank you very much. Things happen, and always makes things more interesting, I think, when they happen. I think that the words, the words are not really, they have a lot of meanings, but most of the words are more, have kind of internal meaning. We call them sounding breath. So like the words like hey or ho, or they are words that in the tradition it has a lot more meaning than the words that we use, because the words that we use have their limited meaning depending on the era or the society or all that is limits them. So these type of words kind of used to put you, to ground you, to bring you into your inner porch, not the one in front of your house. So the words, there are some words there, obviously, and it's all about longing for that inner porch. And it's a quest to reach in and find that nature that you come from.
Mm-hmm. And it's wonderful how you were positioned sort of on this like platform kind of porch in the middle of that nature. It really felt like you were bringing bringing the energy into the center, which was beautiful to witness.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Sachar. Next to Rodney DeVerlis. Hello, Rodney.
Michael, hi.
Hi. I got the title right.
Yes, you did.
Finally,
I don't know
yes.
if I can get it right, but you got it right.
Okay, good. So, I mean, I think the obvious question is about, reconnection. I know when we were talking about the development of the work, you were really interested in, thinking about how we're reopening and how we're moving into new spaces and what does it mean to reintegrate with that and reconnect. And that really came through, I think, in the work you've put forward with Keenan and Kike. But I wonder if you can speak on that a bit and also where you're at now with that idea.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like probably like most folks, I'm trying to relearn how to be a human in relation with other human beings that I have relations with in time past, and sort of renegotiating the moment where we come in with each other and we're like, don't even know if we should shake hands, hug, kiss, bump elbows, keep walking, mask, no mask, hug. And there's like a sort of re-scripting that's happening, but then the moment after we get past that awkwardness, the sort of clicking back to old habits. I was fortunate to rehearse this. This was one of the first in-person rehearsals that I had done. Only really 4 weeks ago, 3-4 weeks ago. So in many ways, it felt like most of the time that we were there to work, we were actually just catching up, just talking about life, just like sort of living in that energy of being with people again, and how much we become like little children in a way, just filled with like frenetic, feel good joy, like unabashed, just like giggliness, and wanted to sort of capture that and wanted to stay true to the energies that of what it felt like to be in space again with these two dear friends.
Yeah, beautiful. And Olya, I know, I don't know, I hope you don't mind me sharing, but through an email exchange, you just commented on how much fun you had filming this and how you just connected so much with Rodney and Kike and Keenan. I wonder if you could speak on your reconnection and your connection to everyone.
I have not met anybody in real life until the day we were shooting. Even with Rodney, we've communicated on Zooms many times, and finally the moment has come. We were in the same space, and I have not felt truly home with strangers in such a long time. And I truly felt home. Just, it was so much, there was such a longing for that connection and reintegration of the trauma of the distance, and it just was so much fun. I've never filmed a dance film or anything for that matter where a dressing up took more than filming, which added to the extra fun of 3 people sharing their wardrobe fully and spending 2 hours on choosing just the right outfit, which I think we've done a good job. We had another hour to literally run around the city and just own it and celebrate it and celebrate ourselves, celebrate our bodies. Funny enough, I don't know if many of you use the same metaphor, but at the time when we were shooting, I was exactly 2 weeks after my second vaccine. And I've been joking to everybody, I've been telling to everybody that the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go and lick some poles. I don't know where it came from, but I just wanted to go and make love to the city. I just wanted to be there. I just wanted to be one with my city and with the people. And that's what we did. We just ran around celebrating life and celebrating each other and celebrating this beautiful city that we live in.
Oh my gosh, so amazing. Oh, and we got all the dirt behind the scenes about everybody preparing for an hour. It's great. Oh my gosh, but thank you. That's a beautiful sentiment. Amazing. Hey, Alan, Kaeja. Last but not least. So Alan, you filmed all 3 vignettes with Raven, Sashar, and Irma. Talk about that experience. What was it like to really just sit in those 3 different worlds, very different worlds, and film?
Yeah, the first thing that I would like to do is just say thank you. It was just an incredible honor to be able to sit into your discussions, to hear the depth and the resonance and the impact of what you're wanting to reveal choreographically, which I felt that each one of you did just so intimately and amazingly. And for me, it was incredibly challenging. And we set up a series of parameters, and I was only to shoot them 5 times. And we were to choose one from those 5 shots. And so with each one, we set up one series of shooting and then a second series. And for me, the challenge was to honor so deeply their vision and their voice and their imagery, because I am nothing but a vessel, and to honor what they wanted to say and how they wanted to say it. So before each one of the shoots, and of course we only met the day of, and I would go, for example, with Raven, we met at dawn, and it was just so amazing. What was terrifying for me, which I never shared with you, Raven, was that the shadow of the building on you initially when we were working out the choreographic intention, I thought, oh my goodness, it's going to be, it's all and then the sun, when we were ready to perform, the sun emerged, and it was just this glorious shadow and lighting on your being. And Raven and I, for example, with all the artists, we discussed initially, what are your thoughts filmically? How do you see yourself? And each artist was very, very clear. For example, with Raven, she was saying, I want to enter the frame. It's very important. And I want to exit the frame, right? As opposed to me with the camera making any sort of decisions in that way, or fading in, fading out. And so we would then shoot, we would watch the footage and say, okay, is this saying what you feel you want to say? And then we would shoot again, and then shoot again. And then after we did a series of shoots, we would say, let's switch it up and let's see where else we can go with this. And yeah, so it was just really beautiful. It was a beautiful experience. And I was going to say, Irma, in terms of your being luring, what Irma didn't mention was that Kevin was with us as well. So in fact, Irma did lure, Kevin, myself into that space. It was really so magical, so beautiful. I had never been to that waterfall before. And it was just incredible to be there. Now, the other thing is I'm in water the whole time period. You can't see that. And I'm moving in and around Irma, and I'm thinking, I'm going to go down at any second. And I didn't. And then Sashar, it was so beautiful in your, should I say your home? I know you talk about being in the backyard, and your mother. I love your mother. She's so amazing. And she fed us afterwards. What a dream. and Sashar has created, when we were all talking as a group, Sashar was in his yard, and we all said, oh my goodness, because Sashar was saying, I'm not sure what to do as an environment. We said, oh, it's so beautiful where you are now. And we just went there, and I felt Sashar, part of what Sashar talked about was being invisible as well. And I just felt that was so important to capture. And I said to Sashar, you don't have to move. Let the camera dance. And, that was one of the things that we had talked about. And it was just magical. And I just want to thank all of you. The whole evening was so profound. And thank you, Michael and Karen, Kaeja, and everyone. But thank you, everyone. It was just a blessing for myself.
Thank you, Alan, for sharing, and also for supporting Sashar, Raven, and Irma so beautifully through the process. Thank you so much. We have time for just one question from the chat. I love this question. It's from questions from Eamon. Eamon asks, has your idea of home changed through the process of creating your work? And if so, how? Has your idea of home changed through the process of creating this work? And if so, how? And I'm throwing this to anyone to answer, and feel free just to unmute. I'm going to vamp by saying I see deep thoughts. Oh, yeah, okay.
I'll go, Raven, here. My idea of home didn't change. I think I made a choice about what I made a choice in the way that I wanted to show what home was for me. And so the process of watching the videos and choosing the videos, the one that would be shown to the larger public, was really difficult. It took me a little bit of time, extra time, because I was like, oh, I love this part. Oh, but I love the mistakes. There was something about the mistakes that I was so much more drawn to than the perfection of a full laid out work, which was because I wanted to see the pitfalls of the journey. So it was really just an exploration of what I already experienced, just in performance form,
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah, Sarah.
Well, I'm just thinking about Catherine Marion, one of the fine dancers in our film, when Fran and Catherine and I were up in the corner of part of Catherine's building, right up to the bricks. And I see there are bricks behind me. Maybe that's what made me think of it. I started thinking about we hung out with those bricks really quite closely for quite some time. And I was thinking about who made those bricks and who laid those bricks and where the earth that those bricks came from. Maybe it was the brickworks, maybe it was further away. So then I started thinking about the other people who were connected to that building and who had lived there before. And it's quite an old building. So then I thought that thing of I don't know, the existential piece that comes with COVID. I was thinking about home being something that it really does cycle through, we were home with each other as we were making those films. And yeah, I don't know, it felt like a transitory thing, but that didn't not in a bad way. It felt like the building has a history, our relationships are transitory and kind of impermanent, but we're very at home with each other in that intensity of creative process. It was an interesting paradox, I guess. Mm-hmm. So now I look at, I just had a bit of a surge of looking at buildings and thinking about their past, and there's us, but we're not always going to be here. And that's not too existential.
That's great. It's exactly the kind of thing we need these days, right?
Yeah.
Rodney, yeah.
Brilliantly existential. I think that I think it's just always important to be reminded of that the home is not brick and mortar, and that we do say that, we've known that for a long time, all of us collectively, but COVID in many ways has left us to be in our brick and mortars, and that for many of us we found home through these 2 by 2 inch screens for so long, and so I think it was really very helpful, this process, in many ways, to be reminded of the ways that we make home in many ways. As you mentioned, Sarah, just being with folks, we were with, just getting ready for the shoot with Olia. 4 of us who had different relations with each other were in our own way making, building a home in this way, being back in a sort of rehearsal setting, or being on the streets of a city that we all live in and know so well, and are so comfortable just acting a fool on, is a part of also feeling at home. So there's a deep comfort to the more bigger concept of home, and being comfortable and being yourself and just being with other human beings, that I think in many ways this time and this portal and this process has been a useful reminder of.
Yeah, you bring forward brick and mortar. Oh yeah, Otri, yeah.
Right. I just also wanted to add to that as well, because with the participants that I was working with, they were in the middle of a move. So like at the beginning of July was when they were moving to their new house. So we started the process. It was a conversation about home and what they were leaving behind, but what they were looking forward to. And for the kids, they were also like, they were pained at the fact that they were leaving their bedroom and that they were leaving their room, and they couldn't share that like their beds were right beside one another, and they didn't want to leave that setting. And then they saw this new house, and there was a small like cabin at the back, which you saw in the film. And immediately, like as soon as they saw it, they were like, this is our home. Like this cabin is our home. Like we immediately decided that no one's allowed in here. Like no mom, no dad, no one. This is our home. And it was like when I was listening to the story, Rita was telling me that, you know, it was like in a matter of like a few minutes where they decided to jump from, I don't want to leave my bedroom, to this is my cabin and this is my home and this is where I'm going to live forever. And so just that like beauty of a child, just like switching that idea of where they can bring joy out from is where they consider home immediately. So it's just such a beautiful thing to see. And also just as parents move, like manipulating to like just jumping from one house to another. And I was talking to each of them. So Manu was saying, you know, we're just moving from house to house and that's it. Whereas Rita was like, I brought my babies into this house. You know, my first job was at this house and this was so there's a different like relationship that both of them had to the brick and mortar that they were leaving and the one that they were about to get into. So it was a beautiful conversation to just have with them as well.
It's beautiful.
I can go next.
Please.
I have been really struggling with this whole idea of home. I guess before we do the work and after also about questioning the idea of home. I mean, do we need do we need a home? You know, do we need a space to grow or a place to belong? You know, and when it comes to a place to belong, with it comes the idea of ownership and expectation, and the home, neighborhood, city, country, and there we have it right now, what's going on in the world. So for me, I think after 50, I'm enjoying being lost, you know, and not knowing. So I'm in a very confusing place, which is quite amusing. You know, a lot of people from cultures, the nomadic cultures, they didn't have that idea of a home. Their home was they went to a place and make it. How you say it, they relate to the place, to the space, and they use it as much as they need, and they give back to it as much as the earth needs or the environment needs. But then I guess humans got greedy and start building, and all this. I look at it as if us humans have been trying to stop this place and the time, you know. And if you're dancers, I guess that is really not good for us. So that's what has been going on in my head.
Thank you for bringing that forward. Thank you. Oh, I see Irma. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo or riff off what Shasar was saying, and everybody actually, that, you know, I obviously home means will always mean, no matter what, these stories that I grew up with and the narratives that of my land and my family and the immigrant identity and the, you know, as folks from the diaspora, it's like home anywhere where we've made community. And something that I realized the day that we were filming is how at home I felt with the people that were there with me, you know, Alan and Kevin. And yes, I was sharing with them my stories and my nostalgia of home, but they made me feel very at home. And it made me think that home is community, and it's to share a space where you're loved validated, heard, and cared for, that you're cooked for, that you're like listened to, that someone's there to hold your hair and to like touch your heart. And I felt that day. And Alan knows and Kevin knows, it was really magical. Like, it was so beautiful to share something and to be just loved, that everything that I did was, it's beautiful, you're amazing. And I was like, well, thank you. Like, it felt so amazing. And that's what is home. That is what community does. We lift each other up because we want to see each other thrive. So I'm like there with and that can happen anywhere. It can happen wherever we go, as long as we continuously nourish it.
Yeah, I mean, here we are in a community in this space, and maybe we're creating a home at this moment in this half hour between us. So that's something to think about as well. I'm just reflecting on the idea of like, you can arrive somewhere into a cabin and know this is my home right away. And sometimes it takes years. And then sometimes it's the space that's the home, and sometimes it's the memories that fill it, or the thoughts and sensations and feelings. It's permanent, it's impermanence, it's all so beautiful, what you've all reflected on. So thank you all so much for all of this amazingness, and for saying yes to me when I asked you to take part in this wild ride, and for offering such beautiful and profound offerings this evening. Thank you all so much. Thank you.